Once again, it's about boundaries. This time, it's about the human desire to exalt oneself. In this case, it is told in the form of what scholars call an origin story, a story that was originally intended to demonstrate how the world became a certain way. In this case, the story is about the fact that there are different languages spoken in the world and why that is. The writer of the story attributes it to the human desire to transcend their God-imposed limitations. There's a lot about this story that we could delve into, but for our purposes today, it is what human beings do that draws God's punishment that I want to talk about. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas. This is one of those stories you need to hear all the way through, even though it is a bit longer than what I normally read in a daily devotional. We read, "Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as they migrated from the east, they came upon a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, 'Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly.' And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, 'Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves. Otherwise we shall be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth.' The Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the mortals had built. And the Lord said, 'Look, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language there, so that they will not understand one another's speech.' So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth." Questions multiply. Did God have to come down to see the city being built? Is this a historical story, or is it more of a fictional story to explain in theological terms why the world is the way it is? And if it's a fictional story, is there some historical account beneath it? Well, these are all very interesting questions, but they're not the point of today's devotional. As we journey through Lent, I'm interested in uncovering some of the ways Scripture talks about human sin, even when it doesn't use that term. The story of the Tower of Babel tells an origin story based on the idea that human beings transgressed a divinely appointed boundary and received a universal consequence for that transgression. Well, to modern ears, this story can seem a bit quaint. In an era when modern engineering can construct buildings literally half a mile high, and we can venture into space, an ancient building that would be dwarfed by modern standards being the cause of divine punishment seems a bit antiquated. But it's not really the size of the building that is the issue here. Rather, it is the human desire behind it. They said, "Let us build a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves. Otherwise we shall be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." This seems rather innocent to us. After all, cities and countries regularly try to outdo each other in creating architectural marvels. Architects and engineers regularly try to build things that will make them famous. Business owners, such as NFL football team owners, regularly build stadiums that will be the envy of every other sports franchise. Again, it's not the size or scale that's at stake. It's the human intention to be like God. It is the desire to live without God's constraints. It is, in the end, the attempt to throw off the bonds of divinely appointed human limitations. In a word, it's to be rid of God as a power and authority in human life. As far as sins go, it's pretty big, and it pops up in a great variety of ways in our own lives, too many to count, actually. Whether it is thinking we don't need God's help when we're in trouble, or believing that we are self-made humans who pulled ourselves up by our own bootstraps, we often betray our desire to go it alone, to leave God out of it, rather than to admit our total dependence upon God. During this Lenten season, it is important for us to reflect on who we are, especially in relation to God and one another. And it is important to take stock of the full truth of who we are, acknowledging the ways we knowingly and unknowingly push God aside is one of the pieces of that truth. Tomorrow, Abram's lack of trust and Sarah's cruel treatment of Hagar. And now may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.